Hey guys and gals, welcome back. Another session of Come Learn With Me. This is part of the compendium of CIOs and bow ties, where we have Come Learn With Me. We've got Looking Over the Manager's Shoulder, where I interview managers and show you some interesting investment choices. And then we have our mini groups as well, which I think a lot of you participate in, so thanks for that. This is another article in the Come Learn With Me series. Talks about electric flying vehicles. Surprise, surprise. These ones are definitely percolating up, as were specs in the previous example. Regent is making a flying electric ferry with a top speed of 180 miles per hour. All right, let's investigate. Boston startup Regent is developing an electric seaglider that can motor out of the harbor on a hydrofoil, take off at a low speed using the water as a runway, and fly over the waves at a top speed of 180 miles an hour. The company raised $9 million in seed funding from Caffeinated Capital, an early backer of the supersonic jet startup Boom Mark Cuban, Peter Thiel's Founders Fund, Combinator, and others. So was the startup Boom supported by these founders? The company's name stands for Regional Electric Ground Effect Naval Transport. Regent, okay. Billy Telheimer and Michael Klinker, CTO of Regent. The Boston startup called Regent wants to make flying ferries the best way to travel between coastal cities. The startup is developing an electric seaglider that can motor out of a harbor on a hydrofoil, take off at a low speed using the water as a runway, and fly over the waves at a top speed of 180 miles per hour to bring passengers to their destination, according to co-founders, CEO Billy Telheimer and CTO Michael Klinker. The duo previously worked for a Boeing company, Aurora Flight Sciences, and both are FAA licensed private pilots. Telheimer told CNBC that Regent wants to make the trips between coastal cities fast, safe, affordable, and reliable with the smallest possible environmental footprint. Seagliders that Regent designed technically fall in the category of wing-in-ground effect craft, or WIGs. Wing-in-ground effect crafts. Wing-in-ground effect. They have not historically been regulated by the Federal Aviation Administration, but instead by the US Coast Guard. Oh, that's interesting. Importantly, Regent is developing its seagliders to work with existing harbor infrastructure. There it is. The CEO says he notes that charging is still needed at harbors for mainstream adoption of electric vehicles there, whether electric air taxis, boats, or ground vehicles. The company will seek to establish passenger routes between major hubs like Boston and New York, Los Angeles and San Francisco, or shorter routes like New York City to the Hamptons, or routes connecting the islands of Hawaii. Nice. Good look. Seaglider. But for now, with $9 million in fresh seed funding in hand, the startup is focusing on a prototype. We're going to be flying a quarter-scale prototype by the end of this year, said Telheimer. The prototype will have about 15-foot wingspan and will weigh about 400 pounds. We need to make sure it works in representative operational environments like in waves and different weather. The company is expecting to do its first flight in the Boston area, but is shopping around for someplace to conduct tests elsewhere during the harsh New England winters. Unlike prior generations in tech, Telheimer says working on a startup that deals in atoms, not just bits and bytes, is easier than ever. Regent is following the success of robotics and electric vehicle companies like Kiva Robotics, Tesla, DJI, and others. Investors were excited about this, and we're hearing from a lot of cities saying, come here and we'll help you, Telheimer said. We think that the Boston culture is helping us today. We're in the MIT Harvard ecosystem, and we have great connections and in the robotics and aerospace scene here. Among other things, Boston is home to companies like Raytheon and Draper Laboratory. This is what's Investors in Regent's flying ferry business include Caffeinated Capital, an early backer of the supersonic jet startup Boom, Mark Cuban, Peter Thiel's Founders Fund, Combinator, and others. Sounds like there are investors in this startup. Caffeinated Capital rounder Raymond Tonsing said he sees Regent embodying the future of electric vehicle with superfast ferry service, even potentially competing with autos someday. Basically, we're in a transition away from using fossil fuels to get from A to B, including when you're not touching the ground. And you know, this is a massive market. And I think Regent has a very good plan to be flying passengers in about a 4-year period. A relatively quick go-to-market plan exists in no small part because the company expects to deal with the rules and regulations that govern maritime vessels, not airplanes, Tonsing explained. They expect to deal with the rule, okay. It takes longer to get a new jet plane approved to fly passengers. While safety is still paramount, a WIG will fly in low airspace over waves. It's not meant to fly over towns, homes, and roads. Yes, well, that makes sense. Investor Mark Cuban also said in an email sent to CNBC, time is the most valuable asset that we don't own. Regent makes so many difficult trips simple and fast. Its impact will be significant and global. I like it. While there isn't a crusher competition developing electric sea gliders for passengers like Regent is, there are some electric and hybrid electric watercraft businesses that could vie for similar contracts or funding in the future. These companies include other WIG developers, Flying Ship Company, and RDC Aqualines, along with electric vehicle boat makers such as Pure Watercraft in Seattle, Switzerland-based Candela, and the Wellington Electric Boat Building Company in New Zealand. Okay. There's going to be a lot of competition, I guess. So that may be it. Yeah. That's the end of that article, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. It's fascinating stuff. Oh, there she is. The sea glider. Would you fly in something like that? Would you fly in something like that if it was autonomous? I'd love to hear from you. Let me know.